Hello students, welcome to my class on operating system. I am Shravani Kundu, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Guru Nanak Institute of Technology. So this is the introductory class of operating system. In this class, I will discuss these two topics. First one is the functionalities of operating system and second one is the evolution of operating system. So before discussing the functionalities of operating system, I like to discuss what is operating system. So as you know that for our computer system, so there are different components for our computer system. Okay. What are the components of the computer system? The lowermost computer or innermost component of the computer system is called the hardware. So hardware is the innermost or lowermost component of the computer system. Now above hardware, some application programs or so above hardware there is a part which is called the operating system. Above operating system, some application softwares runs. So all application softwares which we use in our day-to-day life, all application softwares runs on the operating system. So above operating system, the layer is application software. Fine. Now, above the application software layer, above this layer, the layer is called the user layer. So user layers are the users or human beings who are using the computer. So those user layers are interacting with this application software. So mainly basically there are three layers of the computer system. The innermost layers is the lowermost layer is called the hardware. Then above hardware there is another layer which is called the operating system, and above operating system there is another layer which is called the application software. And the flow of information is top to bottom or bottom to, that means both way. The information flows from this direction to this direction and again from this direction to this direction. So this is a both way information flow. So user in that means with the human beings send some input, give some input through the application software, then the application software forward that inputs to the operating system, then the operating system send that inputs in some understandable format to the hardware, then hardware process that information, and after processing it, it returns the result to the operating system, and the operating system transfer that information to the application software, and the application software then finally return the user can see the result from that application software. So as you can see, the passing of the information is from top down and bottom up, that means in both way. So our computer system is comprised of all the four components. They are hardware, operating system, application software, and user. So here we are mainly dealing with that operating system. This is because this operating system is the core, or you can say the heart of the computer system. Without the help of the operating system, the computer cannot work. So as you know that in the computer system, there are some basic hardware. So I will discuss that what is our hardware. So you though you know all those topics, still I'm going in very brief. So what is hardware? So as you know, in our computer system, there are different components are present, the basic architecture of the computer system. So those basic components are central processing unit, so which we can say CPU, central processing unit, Apart from the central processing unit, there is some memory, okay, which is used to store information, and some IO devices. And as you know, that central processing unit is basically has two parts. One is the processing unit and second one is the control unit. Fine. So the basic architecture, the hardware part of the computer system is formed by three important components. They are called the CPU, memory, IO device. And CPU basically are divided into two parts. One is the control unit and another is the processing unit. And the last memory unit is used to store information, that means the intermediate result or data. And IO devices is basically used to take the input from the user or to display the output to the user by some devices, IO devices. Okay, so that is all about the hardware. Next, there is, I'm discussing, so you know the application software, you are very much aware about the different application software. So in our day-to-day life, while we are using the computer, we can use the different types of application software. Fine. So as you know that the software is mainly divided, software is mainly divided into two parts. So one is called the system software, and second one is called the application software. Fine. System software and application software. Now, the operating system belongs to the system software part. Now this application software, so I am coming to the operating system later. Before that, I am discussing what is application software. The application software are those software through which we are interacting. Fine. So what are the different application software we are using? We are using MS Word or all the application of Microsoft Office, MS Word, MS Paint. So any application of the Microsoft. So those belongs to the application software. Different painting application, different application, that means while you are playing some games or while you are using some software for writing your application, writing your program. So all belongs to, all comes under the application software. Fine. Now, other than that application software part, there is the user. So who are the users? User are just the human beings who are using the computers. Now, apart from this hardware, application software and user, the main important part is the operating system. So the main important part of the computer is operating system. Okay. Now let us define what is operating system. Fine. So operating system is basically defined as the interface. So we can say that operating system is an interface. This definition is very much important. So operating system is an interface between user and hardware. Fine. So this each and every words of this definition is very much important. So what is operating system? We can define that operating system is an interface between user and hardware. Now why it is called the interface? This term interface indicate that the same workflow, the flow of the information. So while we are user, interacting with the computer, so as you can see, as I am teaching you, so I am using the painting application and here I am writing everything in the form of the simple language. We are using some application, or while you are doing some online form fill up, or while you are writing the programming using C, Java, any programming language. So what you are doing, you are writing your code or every information in terms of the simple English language, which is understandable by the human being. Now, hardware is nothing but a collection of flip-flop, some clocks, some registers, some memory. So it is a collection of some components, and those components cannot understand any high level language. That means any language like English, Bengali, Hindi. So any language the hardware cannot understand. So what actually happened over here? We, the user, interact with the application software by the help of the language through which we are comfortable. Now, this application software send that information to the operating system. So here, the operating system is basically act as the barrier or interface. Okay. So it creates an abstraction. So this all the high level language, high level language, that means the language with which we are interacting, we are communicating. So all the high level language instructions comes to the operating system, and the operating systems convert them to the machine understandable language, or we can say the machine level language. So that means it converts the language in terms of the machine understandable language, and then it invokes different types of services present under the control unit, and those services finally executed with the help of the processing unit. So the main task, that means the execution task of all operations, are performed with the help of the operating system. So what it performs, it firstly converts that language into the machine understandable language format. Then after converting that language into the machine understandable language format, these operating system, that operating system is nothing but the software, which is the intangible things, and hardware is a tangible thing. So this operating system is basically creating an interface with that tangible and intangible things. So all this programming and all the language is finally converted into the form of 0-1 sequence, the sequence of 0 and 1s, which we can say the bits, a sequence of bits. Now those bits are finally converted into the voltage in terms of the signal, and that signal is used by the different devices, used by the CPU or different IO devices to perform the further action. Now after performing the action by that hardware devices with the help of this signal, it generates some result, and that results in the same 0-1 format is transferred to the operating system. Now operating system again take this instruction in the form of which is in the machine level format, and then convert it into the corresponding high level language format, and then transfer it to the application software, and the user can view the output through the application software. So here you can see that if the operating system is not present, that means if this layer is absent, then there is a huge gap between the application software and hardware. Because you remember one thing, application software is the intangible things and hardware is the tangible. So this is very difficult to create an interface, create a communication, create a mode of communication between a tangible and an intangible thing. Clear? So in this way, as per the definition, the operating system is basically the interface between the user and hardware. Clear? Now, so as I told you that while the application software sends some requests to the operating system, suppose for example, you want to read some PDF file. So what you are doing? You are sending the instruction open file1.pdf. So you just send this instruction through some application software. Now this file1, this is a file which is stored inside the memory, secondary memory, okay, in our hard disks, or you can say the hard disks. And as you know that why this data is stored inside the hard disks in the form of 01 format, not in the machine level language, not in terms of the English language. And this is nothing but an instruction. So while I want to open the file1.pdf, I want to read this file, I send the instruction to the operating system via some application software. So this application software, so suppose the application software is PDF viewer, right? PDF viewer is my application software. Via this application software, I am sending this instruction to open a file. Now this PDF viewer software convert your request to the corresponding machine, send this request to the operating system. Now operating system convert it to the machine understandable language, or you can say machine level language. Apart from that conversion of the machine level language, it also call different services which it provides. So this operating system is what is operating system? It is basically a collection of services. So it call different services. So to perform the open operation, it needs to call the file management service. Okay. So this is called the file management service. So what the operating system is doing? The operating system convert the instruction to the machine level language format, and after that it is calling the service which is called the file management. Now this file management service is this service fetches the instruction from the hardware. Again, try to understand. The file management service fetches the instruction. That means which instruction? This file1.pdf. It fetches the file1.pdf from the memory. Okay. So this is a very important service. This service is provided by the operating system. So as you can see, the task of the operating system is not only convert the language from high level to machine level language. Other than that, it also provide different types of services, and through the help of these services, we can perform different types of works. Fine. So operating system now call the file management service. File management service fetch the instruction, fetch the file with the help of some IO devices. So which is the IO devices? Some input output devices, and with the help of the memory hard disk, it fetches the data from the hard disk and it stores it in the primary memory. Okay. So it fetches it and it stores it in primary memory. So this file1 is present in my hard disk. With the help of this file management system and different IO services, the file1 will be fetched from the hard disk and it will be stored in the primary memory. Fine. So after storing the information in the primary memory, now the operating system will send back that file through the application software PDF viewer. Now your PDF viewer will open the file and you can read it. So this is a very critical operation which is performed, but these phases of operation are totally hidden from the user end. So user is totally unaware about that. What are the different things are happening? User only can see I am just clicking the open option and I can open the file and I can read it. But while I am clicking the open, different actions are performing, different operations are performing, and everything is handled with the help of the operating system. Fine. So in other words, we can say the operating system is an interface, but we also can say that operating system, we can write as OS, operating system is a collection of different so it is a collection of different, just a minute, different services. Clear? So now we will learn what are the different services are provided by the operating system. So this is very important thing. We need to know that apart from converting, apart from communicating with the hardware, so how it can communicate, how it can perform different operation with the help of the hardware. So apart from that conversion, how the operating system communicate with the help of the hardware, and how it can establish the communication between and tangible and intangible things. So that is totally dependent on the different services which are provided by it. Clear? So now we will discuss the different services of operating system. Right? What are the different services? So the different services are, number one is user interface. So operating system basically provides different types of user interface. As you know, the old one was command line interface, and the next one is graphical user interface. So what is the first one? First one is called the command line interface. So if you can see that DOS or the older version of the Unix, the previous the beginning version of the Unix, so there was no GUI. Or if you can see the disk operating system, so there is no GUI, only a black screen, and we have to write the instruction, we have to write the command to perform our different operations. So those type of interface is called the command line interface. But command line interface is really very difficult for the general people to perform any operation with the help of the computer. So a new interface is generated, which is called the GUI, or we can say it is graphical user interface. Fine? Graphical user interface. Now, this graphical user interface are composed of different types of images. So just by clicking, dragging, dropping, we can perform different types of operation. We don't need to type the command. Instead of typing the command, we can click on any images and we can perform our operation. Fine. So this is called the graphical user interface. So this operating system provides the different types of interface through which we can communicate. So as you can see, I am communicating, I am writing it. I am writing with the help of some GUI. So this operating system basically helps us. So Paint is the application, but this application uses the service GUI, and by using the GUI service, it can display the entire thing, which you can visualize, which you can see on the screen. This entire thing can be displayed with the help of the GUI service. Okay. Now, there is another important service of the operating system, which is called the program execution. Right? So the next service is program execution. It is called program execution. Right? So what is the service? What is this program execution service? This service helps you to load the program into the memory and to run that program. And this service also able to end its execution. So you can see that while we are executing our code, while we are writing our code, sometimes if my code is properly, absolutely correct, in that case my code will be will be executed, it will show the result and it will terminate. But while we'll write some infinite loop, it will executing infinite numbers of times, so it will not terminate. In that case, what we will do, we will press some key combination to terminate that program. So in this way, if some programs are not running properly or not ending normally, so in that case, the operating system can abnormally terminate that program. Or it can also, you can see the different types of error. Operating system sometimes reports some types of error, that this file is not available, it creates the problem, so it is corrupted. So this type of error you can see the operating system will send you. So operating system helps us to execute, load the program into the memory, execute it and terminate it. And if the program cannot be terminated normally, then in that case it should be terminated forcefully. Fine. So this program execution is another important service of the operating system. Now there is another service of the operating system is called the IO operation, or input output operations. So as you can see, as I'm typing it, I'm writing something, so I'm giving the input. So how, by using the pen, I'm writing it on the screen. So that means that IO device is interacting with the user application software, and between that IO device and the application software, some services, some program is running. So I am using some hardware device through which I am writing, and the paint is the software, application software. So between this hardware device and between this hardware device and software, and another program is running. This program, which is called the IO services. So this program basically helps you to take the input from some hardware devices or IO devices and transfer that data to the corresponding application software. Similarly, while you can show you, while you will write the code and you can show the out, and after writing the code, while you will execute it, you can see the output on the screen. So while you can see, so while suppose you are saying this is your screen and you can write down, you can see the output, you have entered the value 2, 3 and you can see the output 5. So how you can see the output? So 2, 3 you are entered through the keyboard. That means some input service is called while you are giving some input through the keyboard. Now the processor will perform the addition between these two numbers, and after performing the addition by using some instruction, we are showing the value 5 to the display device. So this, to display the value 5 in the display device, again we need to call the output service. So basically in IO operation, two services are there. One is the input service and second one is the output service. The input services, what helps you to take the input from the IO external device or hardware device, input device, and the output service helps you to display the result or input via some output devices. Clear? So this is the IO operation. Now the next operation is called the file system manipulation. So that is another service of the operating system, which is called the file system manipulation. Okay. So while you will, suppose you write something on the Word, MS Word, and you are saving it. So as you will save it, your file will be stored in the hardware. So how your file will be stored in the hardware, in which location of the hardware, and while you want to reopen the file, how that particular file will be fetched from that portion of the hardware where it is stored. And after performing some editing, when you will again save it, again it will be stored in that location. So how the entire thing will be performed, how we can create a file, how we can store a file, how we can edit a file, so how we can open a file on read-only mode. So the file system manipulation is another service which is provided by the operating system, and this service will also help you to create the interface between the application software and the hardware. So if you observe carefully that while we are writing our file, we are using any word processor. Okay, it may be a Notepad, WordPad, or Microsoft Word, any word processor. But while we are storing the file, we are storing it in the hard disk. So hard disk is the hardware part. Word processor is the software part. So this file manipulation service basically works between them. It takes the input from the application part and it helps that particular input to store inside the hardware. Clear? So this file system manipulation performs different types of operation. So what are those operations? The operations are creation of file. So it will create the file. It will create it, store, load, modify. If we want to perform the deletion operation, delete, so etc. etc. So whatever the operation we can perform on the file, all the operation can be performed with the help of this file system manipulation service, which is provided by the operating system. Fine. Now the next service is the communication. Fine. So as you know, while you are writing the program, while you are writing the code, or while you are using the application, so sometimes we write the code in C programming language. So we are using the C programming language, and from this C programming language we are accessing the Notepad, or we are accessing the Excel. Okay, we are accessing the Excel or some other application software to store our data. That means our objective is to open the file. We have to create a file, we have to store the data, and we have to read it, something like that, and you want to perform this operation with the help of the C programming. Fine. So while you are performing that operation with the help of the C programming, so C programming needs to communicate with the function or application software. So software is nothing but a program. So you can say that C program needs to communicate with another program which is called the Notepad or Excel. So they are nothing, they are also program. Okay, so C program needs to communicate with the Notepad Excel program. So how two different programs can communicate? They can exchange information between them. So that can be performed with the help of the communication service. Okay. Now, other than that communication service, there is another service which is called the error detection. So error detection is another service which is provided by the operating system. So this service basically detects any error present in the operating system, or if the IO devices are not working properly, if there is any failure of the memory, or if there any fail, if the CPU, if any operation takes too long time for the execution, so all those things will be reported. Who will report? Operating system will report it. But how the operating system will report? Operating system, the service of the operating system, which is error detection, basically monitor all those things, whether all the part of the computer, whether the hardware is working properly, whether the all the application softwares are working properly, is there any failure, is there any gap, is something is taking too large time. So everything will be monitored by the error detection service. Fine. So this error detection service, if it notice any sort of abnormal phenomenon, so any abnormality will be reported by the error detection service. Now the next one is the resource allocation. resource allocation. It is also very much important service of the operating system. So while we will execute any program, so you know that while you will write the C program, so you write suppose you are writing, you have written a program, program 1.c, and you are executing the program by using the compiler gcc space program name.c, and then you are checking the output by writing ./a.out. Okay. So while you are performing this operation, while you are executing your code, during the execution of the code, during the compilation and execution of your code, your program needs some additional additional inputs, additional resources, like it needs some stack, it needs some memory, it needs some file, it needs the CPU time, it needs some registers, it needs some memory in the some allocation, some storage in the primary memory. So during the execution of the program sometimes needs more resources, and who will assign that resource to the program? The resource allocation service which is present in the operating system. So this resource allocation service will basically assign that resource to the process which will execute. Okay. Now, apart from that resource allocation service, there is also a service which is called the accounting. So accounting and resource allocation service, these two are very much related. They are very much related. The task of the resource allocation service is to allocate the resource to the different processes which are running with the help of the CPU. Now, the accounting service is basically keeps the track how many resources are available, how many resources are already given to some processes for the execution. So this accounting service basically keeps track that what are the remaining number of resources, how many resources are total, what is the total number of resources, and how many resources are already allotted to whom. So this accounting, this tracking part can be done with the help of the accounting service. Now next, the last one we can say that the protection and security. So this is very much important, protection and security. Operating system itself can provide some sort of protection and security so that any unauthorized people cannot access the data. So if suppose some users have stored some data in some memory space, so it may happen that some user one stored some data in some memory space. Fine, this is a memory space. Now user 2 wants to access the same data, wants to steal the information from the same memory space by writing some program P2. So operating this system sometimes provides the protection. It helps you that no unauthorized user, no unauthorized program or process can access the data or instruction of some other process. So in this way, it can provide the protection and security. And today you also can see that for Windows operating system, there is a defender. The defender is there, and this defender, if you update the defender of the operating system, you can see that defender is quite it is similar to a strong antivirus. If you don't have any antivirus in your system, then if you can just regularly update the Windows Defender, it will act as the antivirus. It will protect your system. You don't need to install any other third-party software for the protection purpose. So operating system basically provides the protection and security. So what are the different services? User interface, program execution, IO operation, file system manipulation, communication, error detection, resource allocation, accounting, protection and security are the different services of operating system. Okay. Now the next topic is the evolution of the operating system. Fine. So, but I just you see this slide. This is the different evolution phase of the operating system. So the first one was the serial processing. So initially, while there was no operating system, from that time period, the first operating system which was evolved, that was the serial processing. Now, basically we can say that of the history of the operating system is started from the year 1950. So before 1950, the programs directly interact with the hardware. That means the user has to write the program in terms of the machine level language, and it can be directly submitted to the hardware with the help some with the help of some signal. The user directly submit the program to the computer, to the hardware. So there is no operating system, there is no concept of machine level language. So after that, that means after 1950, the operating system evolves. And the first operating system which evolves was the serial processing. Fine. So in case of serial processing operating system, the programmers directly interact with the hardware, and one process at a time can be executed with the help of the hardware. Fine. So what is the steps for the serial processing? The user, so there is a card, magnetic card, which is called the punch card. Okay. So there is a card, we can say that this card is a punch card. So we can say there is a card which is called the punch card. Now, this punch card is nothing but the magnetic card. So user write the code in the punch card, submit it to the computer, submit it to the hardware directly, and if there is any error, so that will be indicated by some lights. So some red light will be illuminated to indicate that there is some error in the program. Then the user take away the punch card, again rewrite the program using a new punch card, and again submit it. And if the program is correct, then they can take their outputs to the printer. Okay. So this is in this way the serial processing. That means in this phase, that is in the operating system which supports the serial processing, that operating system works in this way. Fine. And what is the drawbacks of the serial processing operating system? The drawbacks of the serial processing operating system is it takes too much time, and in that time the computer is not a small computer like that. A computer occupies 2-3 rooms. One room is used to submit the input, another room is used to see the processing, another room is used to see the error information, another room is used to see the output. So a person has to run from one room to another room to process its program. Fine. So that is a major disadvantage of the serial processing. So after the serial processing, next one is the batch processing. The execution sequence of the batch processing is same as the serial processing, but how it differs? In case of batch processing, so serial processing can execute one program at a time, but batch processing can execute multiple programs at a time. So what happens if more than 2 users submit the program of addition? So what happens? Those all the programs will be sorted depending on their application, depending on the type category. So suppose there are different users, user 1 and user 2 and user 3. So 3 users are there. So first user submitted the application for addition, second user submitted the application for subtraction, and the third one is again submitted some program for addition. So 3 users, user 1 and user 3 submitted the program for addition, and user 2 submitted the program for subtraction. So what happened? The punch card on which the user 1 and user 3 has written their program. So these two punch cards will be taken together. These two punch cards will be submitted to the input room. Then from that input room, they can observe the processing in the processing room, and they can take the output from the output room. So here, all the similar types of tasks are taken together and they are executed. So that it maybe it is little bit faster compared to the serial processing. Still, the user need to run from one room to another to execute their program, and several times. Now, next there is another. So next evolution is a multi-programming. Fine. So in case of multi-programming operating system, the operating system becomes quite smart. And it can execute multiple programs at a time, and in that time the operating system, the hardware also gets improved, the size of the hardware gets smaller, the operating system becomes more smart. And what happened in case of multi-programming, the user can submit multiple program at a time, and the CPU is able to solve all the program. So what you can see that in case of multi-programming operating system, so it may be, suppose we are typing something on the word processor. Apart from that, we are doing something, we are executing the code. Okay, we are executing our code in some using some compiler, and while my code is a huge code, it is executing, and at the same time I am typing something on the word processor. So what happened? We are performing two jobs at the same time. So multi-programming operating system basically helps you to perform multiple jobs at the same time. Clear? And it is quite efficient. So as you can see, if you can perform multiple jobs, if you can execute multiple jobs at the same time, if memory utilization is quite efficient, CPU is never idle. So in the previous two cases, the CPU is idle. Once the process is once we are printing the output, the CPU cannot perform any job, it is waiting. But in case of multi-programming, it may be that while we are getting the output through the IO devices and my CPU is not free, it is doing something else. So the utilization of the different resources are quite better in case of multi-programming operating system. Okay, and the throughput is also quite high. Why throughput is quite high? Because you can see for the for serial processing or single processing operating or simple operating system, if we have jobs like J1, J2, J3, J4, so we will submit the job J1. After completion of the job J1, we can start J2. And you can see that while the job J1 is executing, J1 spend time in different space, different stages. So that means that J1 first takes some input. So that means it is spending its time for the IO operation. Second, it is executing something, so it is spending time with the CPU. And thirdly, it is printing the output, so again it is spending time with IO devices. So you can see, so it takes, suppose it takes 3 milliseconds, it takes again 2 milliseconds, and it takes 0.5 milliseconds. So you can see among in the total execution time is 5.5 milliseconds, and among the 5.5 milliseconds, only 0.5 milliseconds times the CPU is busy, and remaining time the CPU is idle. But if we can execute all the 4 jobs, that means J1, J2, J3, J4 simultaneously, so in that case what happened? We can execute all the job parallelly. So while J1 is busy with IO operation, J2 can take the CPU for execution purpose. Again, while the J2 is busy for IO operation, J3 can take the CPU. So different jobs are there, and they are always busy, keeps the other resources busy as much as possible. And you can see that at the same time I can get the multiple output. Suppose the J2 first needs to perform a CPU operation, and then needs to perform the IO operation. To perform the CPU operation, it needs 3 milliseconds, and to perform the IO operation, it needs 2.5 milliseconds. So you can see that the J1 will complete in 5.5 millisecond and J2 will also able to complete his operation in the same 5.5 milliseconds. Fine. So this is the advantage of the multi-programming operating system. That means multiple program can be executed simultaneously and we can get the better throughput. Clear? Now next one is the time sharing operating system. Now in case of time sharing operating system, what happened, it is little bit different from the multi-programming operating system. In case of multi-programming operating system, if the CPU is free, then other job can take the CPU. So if J1 is not using CPU, then J2 can take the CPU. But in case of time sharing operating system, a time slot is divided into different quantum. This is called the time quantum. Let us say the duration for each time quantum is 2 milliseconds. So what happened, job 1 will get the CPU for 2 milliseconds, then job 2 will get the CPU for 2 milliseconds, again job 3 will get the CPU for 2 milliseconds, then job 4 get the CPU for 2 milliseconds, and again job 1 will get the CPU for 2 milliseconds. So that means all processes are getting the CPU for same after certain duration. So they know that I have to wait for this amount of time and after that I will get it. So it may happen that if the job 4 completes its execution within 1 millisecond, so job 1 will get after that. It should not wait up to 2 milliseconds. So after 1 millisecond it can get its CPU, but the maximum time G1 can spend within inside the CPU is 2 milliseconds. So that is called a time sharing operating system. And the next one is a parallel system. So in case of parallel operating system, multiple processors are there, multiple processors are executing parallelly, and one job can be decomposed into different parts. So in case of parallel system, the jobs are something different. So maybe there is a job 1. So this job 1 has different part. So job 1 has suppose 3 component, structure 1, or you can say the function 1, function 2, function 3. So all 3 functions are not related, not dependent on each other. They are separate functions. They, after execution of all the function, job 1 will take the result and accumulate it, and it will show this output to the user. So in that case, what happened, as 3 functions are not interrelated with each other, they are different, physically different, they are autonomous job, autonomous substructure. So in that case, if multiple processors are available, then if suppose 3 processors are available, then 3 processor can execute the same job, 3 different part of the same job at the same time. So overall, so if it may happen that the job, the first function took 3 milliseconds, second function took 2 milliseconds, and the third function take 3 milliseconds. In case of time sharing operating system, it totally take 8 milliseconds for execution. But in case of parallel system, what happened, it takes maximum 3 milliseconds for the execution, because 3 CPUs are there. CPU 1 will execute the first part, CPU 2 will execute the second part, CPU 3 will execute the third part. So CPU 1 will complete the job within 3 milliseconds, CPU 2 will complete it within 2 milliseconds, and CPU 3 will complete 3 milliseconds. So on an average, it needs 3 milliseconds to compute the job. Now, next one is the distributed system. Fine. So in case of distributed operating system, it is again quite very complicated structure. So it is so in distributed operating system, in the distributed operating system, the processor cannot share memory or clock. Each processor has its own local memory. Fine. And the processor communicate with one another through various communication lines, such as high-speed buses, and you know, the distributed system can be a different type. It can be loosely coupled, it can be tightly coupled. So we will discuss all of them later in detail. And this is all about the evolution. So you can see initially we started initially the operating system started with a single job, then it can execute multiple job at the same time, then it can execute multiple job of different type, then it can execute it can provide different allocate time slot to the different processor, and then you can see the same jobs different parts of the same job can be executed at the same time, and then we go for the distributed system. So this is the total evolution, and still the evolution is going on. This is not the end, and the evolution is, many research operations are going on, many researches are going on to make the operating system quite better. And you know, the real-time operating system, this is coming, and this real-time operating system will be more advanced version, and it will can take the decision at the real time, as the human being can take the decision, at the same time the real time operating system can take the decision. Fine. So that is all about the introduction of the operating system. I think it is clear to you, and thank you for watching my video.